today's episode is specifically designed for the writers. It is specifically designed to the creatives who give us the content that allow us to podcast today. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the writers that created Ahsoka. If it wasn't here with the writers who created, Robert Kirkman, like Invincible, we wouldn't be here without Stan Lee. We wouldn't be here without these creatives, right? And that is what the forefront of today's episode I want to talk about.
For that one episode of She-Hulk, I believe he got paid just under $400.
Like Across the Spider-Verse, right? We all love that film, but look at the behind the scenes. Look at how many animators left the project. Yeah. But to create a piece of art, to create quality entertainment, that's a whole nother beast, bro.
So yeah, they proposed that the background performers should be able to get scanned, be paid for one day's pay, and then the company would own that scan, own that person's image, likeness, and should be able to use it for the rest of eternity in any project they want with no consent and no compensation. What's a strike is not a strike if it's convenient for the people you're striking against. A strike is supposed to be disruptive.
What's up, guys? Sorry, I have a bit of allergies. Welcome to another episode of The Invincibles. I just messed up the intro, but you know what? We've done the intro for so long. You guys know who we are. You know, I'm Zan.
I'm Oli.
And we're just gonna get into today's episode, man. So let's just hit the ground running. There's been a lot of news with Superman Legacy, with Deadpool 3, with the fate of Miss Marvel and the Marvel Comics brand as a whole, and really the implications of Kamala being from Inhuman to mutant, as well as our own thoughts about the industry and some comments that Bob Iger has made. But admittedly, I don't know much of the information that is going on here. I'm a creative, but I want to be more informed. And that's why we got Oli here today. Oli, all the facts, all of the information. Today's episode is specifically designed for the writers. It is specifically designed to the creatives who give us the content that allow us to podcast today. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the writers that created Ahsoka. If it wasn't here with the writers who created, Robert Kirkman, like Invincible, we wouldn't be here without Stan Lee. We wouldn't be here without these creatives, right? And that is what the forefront of today's episode I want to talk about. Obviously, we'll talk about Superman Legacy. We'll talk about Spider-Man and all, Kamala. We'll talk about all the nerdy aspects. But today's episode is about the hearts and the people behind the characters that we love. It is not ethical that companies are trying to shut the writers' strike out, make them go broke, and then resume everything. But I don't know the specifics, and clearly from what I just talked about right now, I'm giving really vague descriptions because I'm just going off of Twitter and stuff I've seen on Instagram and Google. So take it away, bro. What is going on in Hollywood right now? Give us the bare bones facts.
Okay, so the writer's strike has been going on for, I believe, about 2 months now. Writers don't get paid fairly, straight off the bat. They just don't. The writer of one of the episodes of She-Hulk, I think, was one where Daredevil made his appearance.
Cody Sigler.
Yes.
The current writer for Miles Morales in the comics right now, actually.
For that one episode of She-Hulk, I believe he got paid just under $400.
Yeah, it's like $325 or something, $395.
Yeah. Which that's absolutely shocking.
That's the entirety, right? Like that's the entirety.
That's all he received. That's probably 5 families Disney Plus subscriptions for a year. Just paid his.
Yeah.
And they have hundreds of millions of subscribers. So that kind of puts it into perspective. But
so if you do the math, sorry not to interrupt you, but if you do the math with equity, somebody do the math, like, somebody who's watching the podcast do the math, but if I'm doing the math correctly, he should be getting at least 5 to 6 figures for the work he's done on that show. Am I correct?
Yes.
Or even more?
Yeah, definitely. And so that's been going on for a while now. Projects are being sort of halted, delayed because of it. But
there's not all of Hollywood, not just like Marvel, right? Like this is
this is over the entire film industry. And just before the SAG SAG-AFTRA strike. I think that's how you say it. I've never heard it said out loud. So that's the Screen Actors Guild union. Just before their strike began, Bob Iger came out and made comments about both writers and
CEO of
actors
Disney.
striking. Yeah, the newly appointed, because he was CEO, then he's come back. And so I've got an article up here. This is why I'm looking to the side. But he said, this is a quote. He said, "It's very disturbing, the decision to go on strike. We've talked about disruptive forces on this business and all the challenges we're facing, the recovery from COVID, which is ongoing. It's not completely back. This is the worst time in the world to add to that disruption." Now, I'm probably going to end up going very left-wing Labour sort of here, but
Same, bro.
he doesn't understand the first thing about what a strike is meant to be. What's a strike is not a strike if it's convenient for the people you're striking against. A strike is supposed to be disruptive. Otherwise, what's the point in doing it? Otherwise, it's not going to be changed. This is why they're doing it. This is why they're making it inconvenient and disruptive. Because it's the only way the studios will actually listen and pay attention. And carrying on, his comment said, "I understand any Labour organisation's desire to work on behalf of its members to get the most compensation and be compensated fairly based on the value they deliver." I think that's complete lie. I don't think he understands that at all. And yeah, there's again, he said it's very disruptive. They are adding to the set of challenges that this business is already facing.
Gaslighting.
They are, but that's the point. They want to make it hard for the studios, because the studios are not paying them enough money to live.
And think about the time crunches too, bro. We live in an industry like Across the Spider-Verse, right? We all love that film, but look at the behind the scenes. Look at how many animators left the project. Look at how they were treated. Look at the time crunches that they were put on. 7 days a week, like 12-hour days.
That's inhumane.
Redoing entire scenes, completely editing them, completely animating them, because that was the preferred work style of Phil Lord. It was Phil Lord who wanted everything completely animated. I'm so sorry if I get that wrong. Somebody, if I'm incorrect, please correct it in the comment section below. But it was Phil Lord who wanted everything animated, allegedly. That is not ethical. You're having animators go on intense time crunches to meet deadlines for scenes that you might not even use. That you could use an email for that. You can use a storyboard for that. You don't need to fully animate.
Yeah.
And if you look at the math, bro, it's, not to get super left wing, you can only get so ethical in capitalism, right? Like when you're trying to make a profit, unfortunately, there will be a class of people who is going to get screwed continuously, right? That's how it works. Hoard all the wealth for yourself under the guise of working hard, right? But that also implies that resources come easily to everybody, and no, they do not. So, and that's what's frustrating here. Like, a lot of the people do not understand this, but more importantly, these writers are creating content that people, depending on how good it is, will attach to their lives. You feel me? So like growing up, I saw the power of the screen. For example, Tobey Maguire, right? The scene where he's walking up the wall. If it wasn't for how that scene was shot, you wouldn't have kids like me or you, whoever, wanting their mom and dads to hold them while they climb up the wall.
Yeah.
Because of how that scene was shot. You get what? Because it engrossed you, it enthralled you, put you in there. There was a writer for that. Right? I forget the name. Maybe it was Michael Chabon or Chabon, or maybe it was Sam Raimi. I forget.
Because it was creative. Like, people, humans, we are naturally creative. And just touching on something that we're going to go into a bit deeper later, with studios wanting to bring in AI. If you use an AI, you don't get that.
Right. You can't create. You can't create that. You can't. AI will create content for the screen, but it will not create works of art that will sing. Think about that. Like, you can have an AI create an episode full of filler and full of cameos that'll just make your dollar. you can complete the assignment, so to speak. But to create a piece of art, to create quality entertainment, that's a whole nother beast, bro.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother beast. And let me, I could keep going on, but my point there was to say, like, it was humans who created the iconic stuff. You have millions of people all over the world consuming the content that you created on timelines that you were given. You should be able to be paid, compensated fairly for everybody consuming your product.
Yeah. So
These writers should be getting paid more.
they can't make the art without them. Like it's not the same. It just doesn't work.
And inspired art, not just something to put out there, something that you remember. That takes. I wish people could write 1 60-second, and not you, because I know you could do it, but anybody out there who doesn't know what we're talking about, write 1 60-second script with just a story, a simple 60-second script. That is so hard. Most people can't do that. Most of the scripts and stuff that is denied, like 95% of scripts is denied in Hollywood, because 99% of them are subpar quality to the standards of Hollywood in terms of formatting, in terms of all of that. You get what I'm saying? It's because most people haven't met that standard yet. It's not because it's just that elite.
Yeah.
Even though there is for sure a lot of elitism and everything, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying, like, your script has to be industry standard first before it's even, accepted. You need a human to do that, and you need a human who spends hours in the lab, at the library, in class, researching, studying, understanding how characters work. But in order to do your job in those hours, you need food, you need water, you need peace of mind, you need resources, you need money for that. The amount of effort that these writers put in to create pieces of art that we all talk about for years on end, you should also be getting paid. If people are talking about a piece of work that you made 10 years ago and it's still relevant, but you're broke because you weren't paid because of that, that's just a smile in your face. That's just a laugh in your face.
Yeah.
That you did something so great and it can't even do something for your life.
Exactly. It's not fair. It's borderline. Well, it is criminal. And I'm just happy that there is unions for writers. There should be unions for a lot more sort of industries, but that's a bigger conversation. So the unions, they're working hard. I've got a quote here from the president of the Screen Actors Guild, Fran Drescher. I think it's a German name. I think that's how I say it. Drescher, maybe. And he really, or it might be she, Fran. I'm not sure. Anyway, the president of Screen Actors Guild has said the companies have refused to meaningfully engage on some topics, and on others completely stonewalled us. So the studios just aren't willing to engage with the union at all. And it says, until they do negotiate in good faith, we cannot begin to reach a deal. So this is literally like 3 days ago as well. The studios are just point blank refusing to negotiate.
And they want to create AI background actors, right?
Yes. So yeah, I think this. Let me just get an article up about this so I know what I'm. So I've got all my facts right. So studios told actors that they wanted to replace background actors with sort of we wanted to scan them. That was it. I think it's the studios proposed to Screen Actors Guild. I think it might have been some deal that they offered.
This is a deal.
I think it was.
This was the CEOs offering an olive branch to the actors, replacing them with AI characters.
One second.
This is some crazy stuff,
So
guys.
it was in it. It says the what's his name? The chief negotiator of the Screen Actors Guild. So he'll be negotiating with the studios to work out a better deal for actors to be offered by studios. And a proposal from the studios was that background performers should be able to be scanned, like digitally scanned, get paid for 1 day's pay, which as a background actor, I remember when cause I actually applied to be an extra in the Batman. I know how much they get paid. I think it was about 100, £200 a day.
Okay.
I didn't become an extra in the Batman, obviously, because I would have already mentioned it in the podcast by now.
Hey, Batman 2, bro. Batman
Yeah.
2.
But yeah, it's about I think it was roughly 100 to £200 a day, which was about $250, $300. So yeah, they'd proposed that the background performers should be able to get scanned, be paid for one day's pay, and then the company would own that scan, own that person's image, likeness, and should be able to use it for the rest of eternity in any project they want with no consent and no compensation. That is verbatim from the chief negotiator of the Screen Actors Guild.
That's an insulting deal, bro. They made
So
that deal trying to be insulting.
yes, absolutely. And just to put in perspective the effect a deal like this could have, I know it sounds bad enough already, but to really put in perspective for people, there was a film in the 90s with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. I believe it was the first time they ever appeared. I think it was on screen together. They appeared as background actors. Let me just get the name of the film. So it was called Field of Dreams. It was a Kevin Costner movie. And they were uncredited extras in the background of that film. There was a scene of about, I think, 3,000 people in Fenway Park. And that was one of their early roles, one of their first background roles when they were very, very young. And that getting that part led them to meet people, led them to get more background work, led them to get auditions, and then to become the stars that we know today.
Right.
Oscar winners. Ben Affleck, two-time Oscar winner. One of the best directors of his generation, arguably.
Yes.
Hasn't directed enough films, though he needs to make more because I'm a big fan. But
Batfleck took a lot of good directing years from us. That's my hot take.
well, this is going on a bit of a side tangent, but the new production company that him and Matt Damon have opened together, which is backed by Redbird Capital, so they've got a bit of money behind them, called the Artists Equity. What that will do is anyone who works on a film under this production company, even like the catering staff, they will get a share of the box office earnings of the movie. Which, you'd think it'd be common sense to do that. You think that'd be common practice? It's absolutely not. And Ben Affleck has vowed to only work on films from this production company for the rest of his career.
Okay, now we're talking. That's a step in the right direction, man.
So if studios want Ben Affleck in their movie, if they want him on the poster, they have to work through the Artist Equity production company, which means everyone who works on the film, no matter at what level, gets shares of the profits. And it's kind of poetic that the first film from that production company was Air, which a key moment in that. I know you've seen it. A key moment in that film is Michael Jordan's mother negotiating for Michael Jordan to get a percentage of every Jordan shoe sold forever. And I thought that was really important that was the first film that they put out, because it really sends a message about what that production company's about. But yeah, so if they never got that, if when they had that background role in Field of Dreams, and I think it was maybe the 80s, late 80s. If they had just been scanned on their first day of working for that, and then we never would have got Good Will Hunting, one of the best films of all time, one of Robin Williams' greatest performances. We never would have got this production company, which is making life better for anyone who works on a film. And they are, I am a bit biased because Matt Damon is like my favorite actor of all time, but we wouldn't have got these two. So imagine what talent could be suppressed in the future if studios implement this. There's a quote from what is it? I think it's a J. Cole. It's either J. Cole or Logic.
What's the lyric?
I think they say the greatest rapper alive is probably like packing groceries or something like that. I can't remember what song it's from.
Okay.
What they mean by that is, so the greatest person to ever do something might never get the opportunity to do it because of like their circumstances. Like someone who could be what they meant was the greatest rapper alive might not ever get the chance to be that because of his or her circumstance. The greatest actor ever, the greatest director or writer ever, may never get the chance to become that because of what the studios are trying to do. There could be some kid, someone who's some kid who's not even been born yet, maybe could one day go on to become the greatest actor ever, but they'll never get the opportunity because the first day they go on to do an extra work, they get scanned and then they never see a film set again.
And here's my thing. I think a large part of this is because ever since the MCU took over the film industry, because of quality films and because we love superheroes, a lot of the business practices started to corrupt stuff, man. Like, for example, Multiverse of Madness was in one theater showing at Cinemark like 13 times in like an hour. There was like smaller indie films at the time. They were getting showings once every other day.
Yeah.
So it's like they bully other, films out there. They do. And I get you have to like, be the big dog to be the MCU, but like, come on, man. Like this is unethical. This is wrong, man. And then like, because fans want to see the films, the comic book movies especially, as fast as possible when they want it right now, a movie every year, an overproduction of content, you need actors who can also act at that high, consistent level with the performances that we've come to expect with the MCU. But that's not feasible because, like you said earlier, they're not robots and they can't switch it on and off. So the solution to these companies would then be, let's just make roboticized versions of themselves who can perform at that level without the fatigue of a human might have. And it's Black Mirror. It's literally Black Mirror.
We're living in an episode of Black Mirror. Just to touch on, sorry, just before you say that, just touch on something you said then about the indie films in cinema. When they do get the opportunity to get a screening, it's at like 12 p.m. in the middle of the day when everyone's in work and no one's going to see it. Yeah.
Like, and then they don't make any money, and then it's a box office flop, and then
studios don't want to make those type of films.
Meanwhile, you got films like Ant-Man and Quantumania making a ton of money, but because it's just in everybody's face, not because people are dying to see this film. I mean, and maybe that's hypocritical, because the MCU is super popular in general audiences, but I guess my big issue was cameo culture has kind of forced a lot of these companies to kind of take these unethical practices, right? Because, for example, Luke Skywalker, you want a Luke Skywalker movie? We could do right by Mark Hamill, or we could hire an actor, or we can get a computer that won't argue with us, just AI
and will cost less.
It'll cost less. And these films, what makes it so special is the relationships that you have on set.
Yes.
You take that away. You take the human aspect away. these films make us feel something because of the emotion behind it. Like when Captain America told Bucky, I'm not going to fight you. I could, you're my friend, and he's getting beat up in Winter Soldier. Only a human could write that, because it's not something too crazy. It's literally just friends saying, I'm with you till the end of the line. That's a human universal feeling.
Yeah.
An AI can't write that, bro. An AI can't act like that, bro. This is ridiculous, man.
It's stifling. It's not even stifling creativity. It's just not even letting creativity happen in the first place by implementing things like AI, when the film industry is already sort of not in the same place it was 10, 20 years ago because of like streaming services. Streaming services aren't, maybe some of the practice is unethical, but I think streaming is just an evolution of the way we consume content. I think it's natural. But when Matt Damon did his Hot Ones interview, he said that say he's making a film with a studio with, he's a producer, and say the film was going to cost 50 million to make. They need another 50 million on top of that for like marketing, promotion, advertising things, and then they have to pay, distributors. You have to pay people to, like cinemas and things like that. And a film that initially would just cost 50 million to make, they have to earn, I think he said, 200 million at least at the box office to make a profit. I maybe butchered that. I'll include a link to the interview. But
no, but that math adds up, yeah.
And he said back in the day, back in the late 90s, when he was making films like I've got a list of all his films here, so get them right, because we do things correctly here. We get our information correct on the Invincibles. Films, these are films that he said like the type of films he'd love to make, like Rainmaker, School Ties, and Rounders, things like that. And all those films that, like, like the Robin Williams type of films, like Dead Poet Society, movies like that, incredible movies that really have an impact on you as a person, that really mean something. They could afford to make them back then because they knew 6 months after the theatrical release, they could afford not to make the whole money back on the theatrical release, because they knew 6 months later they'd have another huge chunk of money come from DVDs and VHS. Now they don't have that anymore. Only nerds like me buy the physical copies. But as you can very clearly see, that's probably about 5% of my whole collection.
Hey, but hard copy companies can never take it away from you.
Yes, I own that. I own them. You don't own the films you're watching on Netflix. But yeah, the films could afford not to make back the whole budget at the box office, because they knew 6 months later they'd have another big wedge of money coming in. But now they don't have that. If say a small budget, you say small budget, 50 million is still a hell of a lot of money. But relatively in Hollywood, a 50 million film compared to what type of films are coming out now, that's a low budget movie. A $50 million film would have to make 200, 300 million just to even begin to make profit.
Right.
Say Dead Poets Society was released today. That film makes nowhere near 300 million in box office. I don't think,
because it's also like you're pricing out certain genres of movies.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have a romance movie that's like $100 million budget. That's superhero movies, and that's what people go to see the most. So you're literally, I guess the natural evolution of it is like other genres are getting priced out. If you want to make an indie comedy teen movie, good luck with that, buddy. But if you add a superhero to it, oh, now we're talking.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
and that's so disheartening for actors, because when you're acting on a superhero movie, you're not on a set. Most of the time you're on like just surrounded by blue or green walls. And actors like Matt Damon said, he loves making those type of films, but he can't make them anymore because of how the industry's changed. And that was before studios started getting obsessed with AI. So actors are already sort of, they can't make the films they want to make anymore. And studios making it even harder for them. And as you mentioned before we started recording, people, um, like young people who see the industries like this, they won't want to go into that because they think, well, I'm not going to be able to make a career out of it.
Right? It's not
And then,
sustainable. Why do
yeah,
this?
and then maybe somebody who could go on, as I said before, somebody who could go on to be the best actor ever will never do that.
It's sad, man. It's disheartening.
Yeah.
But do you think this strike will be successful? What do you hope for the future?
Um, I
And
hope
what
it.
do you think feasibly will happen?
Well, Bob Iger and the studios have been like, we're just going to wait it out and people start losing their homes, which that's just evil. That's pure evil. Um, and it's a matter of who breaks first, really. Praying it's the studios because, as we know, they're obsessed with money, and apparently they're losing tens of millions a day with both strikes ongoing at the moment. So,
But does that hurt them? Because that is an insane amount of money, but look at how much they probably have in the vault.
yeah, exactly. Um, uh,
Because
I'm
Bob Iger is making 25 million a year. How?
he doesn't need to earn anywhere near amount
How?
of money. Take
How
take
do you make 25 million?
cut his paycheck by 20 million and pay the writers. Dude, that's my message to Bob Iger.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like Bob Iger, the first thing that comes to mind, Bob Iger, is he's the guy who made Spider-Man back in the MCU. So I will give him that. So if you
Mhm.
want, listen, if Arsene Wenger was making 10 million and Arsenal was trash, okay, I do see that. Okay, Bob Iger should make at least 10 to 12. If Arsene Wenger was making that at Arsenal, Bob Iger can, especially when he made a success with the MCU. And I know that's a horrible analogy. I just kind of wanted to piss off some Arsenal fans on the video, but like also Wenger out blood, Wenger out
And
fam.
grow up,
But
blood.
like also
It's
I had no
time to
idea.
go.
And for DT, it's time to go to prison. I love me some Arsenal fan TV, man. I love Arsenal fan. I wonder if Arsenal fan TV are comic book nerds. I
Oh,
want
I
to see
bet some
Arsenal.
of them are. Some of them are.
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to see Claude in the Avengers Infinity War premiere. Like I want to see
Oh,
like his
Claude.
reaction. He probably rest in peace, legend. Anyway, going off topic, but yeah, no, 25 million is insane.
Mm.
Absolutely
And
insane.
he's just extended his contract. He was meant to only be working till the end of this year. He's now working till 2026.
So do you think nothing's going to change as long as he's in charge?
Well, maybe, but when the Writers Guild strike, it happened 2008 as well. Uh, but the Writers strike and the Screen Actors Guild both going on strike together when the industry's already struggling from like still feeling the effects of COVID. That should have a real impact, and maybe to I think maybe to maybe kind of analyze the words of like the studios, the fact that they're saying we'll wait till they're losing their houses, their jobs. Maybe I don't know if this is just wishful thinking, but maybe are they a bit scared? Maybe they're saying that to try and force them to give up. Maybe they are actually a bit scared that if this carries
I
on,
would. I
they'll
would. I'm not
you
gonna lie.
yeah, you
I,
think they're
I
scared?
I'm no, no. I'm saying if I was, oh, are they scared? I thought
The
with the studios, I
studio's
thought you meant
scared.
the writers. Uh Maybe. I think it depends on the studio. I think Marvel Studios and Disney probably is not that scared.
Hmm.
Simply because their need for immediate quality content, I don't think is right now. You could
Yeah.
make the most average Fantastic Four movie and still make like 700, $800 million. The Marvel Studios name will sell. It's timeless now. Maybe like, with certain genres, like in the 70s, horror was way up, and now only really the best horror movies are up, but typically horror movies are either really bad or really iconic now. So maybe that happens in superhero movie. I don't know. But what I will say is the superhero movie, the cameos, they are kind of the big thing throughout every franchise, every company. I mean, even in reality TV shows, right? Because I'm a big reality TV junkie. They don't create new reality TV characters. They keep bringing back Pauly D or Snooki or something like that. So this is something that is, you get what I'm saying? Like universal throughout the entire entertainment field. They just keep bringing back nostalgia, and I think
Yeah,
partly
in the Love
because
Is Blind reunion, they brought in someone from what's it called? Too Hot to Handle.
yes, yes, it crossovers.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's I think the studios, it depends. I think if I'm Warner Brothers, yeah, I'm shitting my pants, after the Flash.
There in it, even though DC Future that's seems all right with James Gunn, Warner Brothers still a bit of a shit show.
Yeah, yeah, and we have no idea how Superman Legacy is gonna, shoot and pan out, and I have no idea. But I think if I'm a writer, and this is the most important thing, man, like I would be scared right now. I mean, I went to school for writing. I still haven't even broken into the industry. And I'm like scared, bro.
Yeah.
Like real talk. I'm gonna be real with you, bro. I'm starting like obviously I don't believe it, but when like, people say, oh, like don't be a writer, it's not a real career. This shit validates that.
Yeah.
You get me? Like now it's like what do I do now? But I think most important, I want to inspire the viewers here is there will always be challenges in life, and the greats are the ones who rise above it. Your life is your story and you write the pages. So however harder the struggle is, however sweeter your page will be. So I don't want anybody to be discouraged. I certainly don't want to be discouraged. I have a lot of plans I tell you about that I actively work on. But it's just scary, man. It's just a scary time right now. We're living in a Black Mirror episode. Ollie, do you know where we can, before we go into Superman Legacy, do you know where we can donate and kind of just spread awareness to help the writers and the actors currently right now?
I will get a link and I will put it in the description of this episode and put it on our social medias. So,
Okay,
and
absolutely.
right, let me look at the screen. I think it'll be here
Okay.
on the video on the YouTube, right here. There'll be a link. So click that.
Perfect. Click it, guys. Click the link.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We stand in solidarity with the writers and the actors, and we don't get quality pieces of work that influence our lives and impact our decision making and make the world a better place without people who are behind the page, behind the screen, writing and making that happen and pouring from their heart. This is not analytical. This is not math. This is not just a pure skill. You're pouring from your heart into the work that you're doing. You need to be paid for that.
Yeah. Yeah, sums it up perfectly. Like, maybe this can be something we talk about as it develops in the future in future episodes, because it's only just begun. There's going to be a lot more to come out of this story, and I just hope that there's a happy ending.
Well, hopefully the happy ending starts with Superman Legacy, man. It's coming out. The James Gunn universe is upon us. I don't know why they're announcing all the Superman Legacy stuff when Aquaman 2 is around the corner. I know I'm the only Aquaman fan on the planet, but it seems to me that DC truly does not care. They're going all in on Superman. It is what it is. Superman Legacy. We got David Cornsweet as Superman, Amy Brosnahan as Lois Lane. We got Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. The other actors, Metamorpho, I forget his name. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner.
Of course, he's in it. We knew he was going to be in it.
Yeah, like this is. I really love the concept of Superman coming into an established superhero world and potentially making it better because of the values that Pa and Ma Kent and still on him. I really do like that. I kind of like the concept potentially of jaded superheroes and Superman Legacy. And then Superman is the new kid on the scene, but because he's Superman, he can actually change the culture of superheroism in the DC universe. And that is a far cry from the Snyderverse, which I think is necessary. Like, I'm not even trying to diss on the Snyderverse, but I do think Superman is a character that his ideals and what he stands for needs to bleed and ooze through the page and through the screen. Truth, justice, equity for all. And we need a hopeful Superman. We need a colorful Superman. I think James Gunn's going to bring it. But in light of all that, the writer's strike and everything, what do you think is going to happen in this movie? And I'm not talking plot points. I mean, sure, go ahead and talk about, what you would like to see. But I mean, more in terms of like, do you think the movie's going to get pushed back? Do you think there's going to be creative changes? Do you think, the cast, like, what do you think realistically is going to happen with Superman Legacy? Or is it safe from all of this? Like,
well, it's still, it's not even in pre-production yet, is it? Because they're still casting.
Yeah,
so
yeah, they're still, yeah.
It's still casting, it's still working on the script, so still very, very early stages. He's given a year for the release, but he's not given like an actual date. I don't think so. Maybe
he said like a week ago, he said 2 years from now we'll get Superman Legacy. So do the math. I guess that's the date.
Yeah. So maybe it'll get pushed back. A film that will definitely be pushed back is Deadpool 3 because that's just completely paused. But
yeah,
with we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But yeah, it's probably going to be delayed a little bit. But because it's so early, we won't really see that because it doesn't have like an official. It'll be released on this date. We won't really notice it that much. But I've got faith that James Gunn's gonna. He's gonna because he's the CEO of the DC studio or whatever it is. So he has the authority to push back against the studio if they try and force him to use unethical practices or whatever, or to get stuff done in a short timeline that doesn't treat the actors very well. And one thing I am excited for is just I'm excited to have a good Superman film.
Yeah.
It's been too
time.
long.
It's been
far
way
too long. It's been about 40 years.
Man of Steel doesn't count.
Superman Returns as a kid, loved it. As I've got older, I was like, it's alright.
But there are moments, there are WWE moments, like moments to cheer for the movie. The plane scene, the sinking ship scene, the lifting the island of Kryptonite. I mean, Superman Returns, the story was but there are classic Superman moments.
That moment when he gets shot and the bullet just like crumples on his eye. Oh, that's sick.
And that's what I love about the character Superman, the concept of somebody being so powerful who can destroy literally everything, and he doesn't because he's genuinely a nice human being, and that is never going away. Listen, in a world full of nihilism and this is, corrupt and that's corrupt and the elite are out to get you and the Matrix system, the third, we need a Superman movie that can remind people you can be hopeful. You can be cheerful and not be oblivious to the world around you. Being Superman is not just being blissfully happy. It is acknowledging the problems in your world and still making the world a better place and succeeding. That is Superman. So, and that's universal. Every single Superman iteration, story, comic book, whatever, before the Injustice verse and, Superman is secretly evil and everything. That was the point, so much so to where people forget Zack Snyder was hired by Warner Brothers not to tell an iconic Superman story, but to reinvent the character Superman, to make Superman quote unquote cool. There is an interview, I will I'll link it, where his wife, I believe, I think her name is Deborah Snyder. She said, we figured out how to make Clark cool in the modern era. Think about that. Like,
did they?
And like, listen, there's so much wrong that I have with Man of Steel. I think the number one thing is that Clark barely had any dialogue. I remember walking out of Man of Steel, and I'm like, there isn't really much about Clark's character that I can really say, yeah, that's the Superman. Like, he's kind of a secondary character in his own movie.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I got in Man of Steel. Yeah, there was awesome action sequences. It was great. But I'm sick of the Jesus metaphors every 2 seconds. I'm sick of like the crazy action kaboom Godzilla action sequences that do not have the heart and soul of Superman. And I'm tired of a Superman that is socially awkward. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it. Henry Cavill having, social problems and not being able to connect people. I'm sorry. I can't connect to it and I can't relate to it. I have anxiety. I have social anxiety. But when I'm watching the character of Superman, I'm trying to come out of the movie about to do 100 Make-A-Wish, foundation wishes come true. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do a marathon for the poor kids in East Cleveland. Like, I'm trying to be the most inspirational person possible coming out of a Superman movie. I'm trying to be hyped. That's Superman. I watch Man of Steel and I'm like, he killed Zod. Like,
snaps his neck, doesn't he?
just
in front of a kid.
Krypton had its chance. Like, so edgy, bro. Like, so edgy, man. Like,
one thing I hate about that film as well is a tornado is about to kill his dad, and he wants to save him, and then his dad is like, "No," and then he's like, "Oh, all right then."
Like, yeah, that's Superman, bro. He can move faster than people can see. What are you talking about? And then people are saying, oh, well, he was just 16. You can't have it both ways, bro. You can't have him be so super powerful and he doesn't understand his powers to, oh, he's not fast enough yet. That does not make any sense. I'm sorry. Or Superman could have flew into the tornado the opposite way and fizzled it out. That would have been a cool sequence.
That would have been so good.
Why didn't they do that? Like, Superman flies into the tornado, goes the opposite way, fizzles it out.
Amazing.
Why? Like, and why hasn't anybody done that in live action yet? Like, we've only seen this in the cartoons. James Gunn, make this happen. Yes. Like, I'm just like, there's the most important thing about Superman is that he's a guy who truly loves people. He's not getting an ulterior motive out of helping people. He's not doing some helping out of guilt. He's doing it because he's genuinely like, hey man, do you need help? I know few people in my life, you being one of them, who are like that. And that's just the nature of humanity. Yeah. That's just the nature of humanity. Clark is the best of us. I'm not trying to see a guy who struggles with, the emotions that I feel in a Superman movie. If I want a relatable superhero, I'll watch Marvel. I want to be inspired. I don't want that for Superman. I want Superman to inspire me. I'm not trying to relate to him. Being relatable is always good. It's always key. But when people say, oh, I relate to Batman more than Superman because Batman's a human, that's where I'm like, you don't understand the fucking character. Superman, like, you chill with Batman, what do you have in common? Tell me one thing you have in common with Batman. Do you have the money? Do you have the resources? Do you have the life experience? Do you have the training? Do you have the trauma? No, it's literally both you and him can get folded by Spider-Man with one punch. That is the common denominator. That's it. Versus Superman, you can sit down, you can talk, you can have a picnic, you can walk his dog. He's just a chill dude. Like, if you went up to Superman, if Superman was real, and we DM Superman on Instagram, like, yo, Superman, we're the Invincibles. Would you want to come on to a podcast? Superman would show up. I'm telling you, bro, he would, because that is Superman. Yeah. That is what the movie Superman Legacy needs to be. It needs to be so heartwarming and so, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, and David Cornsweet's going to deliver that, bro. People forget. I said Robert Pattinson was going to be the best Batman ever on the rumors that he was going to replace Ben Affleck. I was like, if they get Robert Pattinson in this new Batman movie, he's going to be the best. I didn't miss. I'm telling you right now, David Cornsweet's going to be the best Superman ever. And please, James Gunn, give us the red trunks. Give us the red trunks. We need the red underwear. We need that. Forget modernism. Forget sleek. Forget all that's cringy. Superman is a guy who helps cats out of trees and tells kids to do his homework. There is an inherent level of cheese with him that we all love. And Rand. I'm sorry. I just didn't like the Man of Steel verse. I thought it was trash. Or the Snyderverse. I thought it was trash. And I
Yeah.
thought it was people who didn't understand DC characters and they just like this Elseworlds version of them. Which is fine if that's what you like. But that's not Superman, bro.
No.
Watch DC Animated Universe Superman.
The best. Yeah, that's some of the best Superman content recently is like the animated stuff.
And I want to say this, none of this hate's going to Henry Cavill. If you give Henry Cavill a good script, he'll give you a good Superman.
Oh yeah.
I do think he was screwed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But two
well,
things
he's
can
getting
be
to
true.
make his Warhammer film now, so he's happy.
Yeah, you can make your Warhammer films and we can get a good Superman movie. It's a win-win. It's win-win. So that's I don't know if you have anything you wanted to talk about. Sorry. I love Superman, man. I love Superman. In a world of edgy characters, we need some Clark Kent.
One thing I want to talk about before we wrap up today is Deadpool 3. Which
Yes.
unfortunately, fortunately, it's being pushed back because that means the studio's doing the right thing and supporting the actors who are striking. Well, it's not been announced; it's being pushed back, but production's halted, so it's inevitable. But holy shit, this could be the best film of all time. Yes, absolutely. I thought they'd take the piss. I thought it'd be self-aware, but until I saw that ruin of the 20th Century Fox logo, I didn't expect them to go that far. But it looks like they're just gonna go all out, taking the piss, mocking the studios, which I think we need a bit of that right now.
So predict Deadpool 3. Predict Deadpool 3. What are we in for?
If everything. So it's gonna be like a buddy cop movie with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Deadpool. Also, the Wolverine suit looks amazing.
I love it.
It's the best Wolverine live action suit or live action outfit by far. It's
they
not
even
much
have
competition.
they have those.
The little silver things for his claws.
I think in the comics, hey, I never read Wolverine in the comics. I only watched the Hugh Jackman movies. I read X-Men. I don't know too much about Wolverine, though. I love Cyclops, but I don't know too much about Wolverine. But to the people in the audience and to Oli, you too, that was the government, right? Like they made that opening in his hands so the claws can just go in and out without the skin constantly breaking. Because in the movie, they just showed the skin
I don't actually know.
breaks. I'm pretty sure it's an opening that they synthetically made.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because in the movie they one that'd be kind of but two, it's a way to outside the character. When Wolverine uses his powers, it hurts, thus reminding him that he is a vessel of hurt, thus affecting his mental health. So they made it work in the movie. It was actually quite smart, and the comics kind of should have done that. But yeah, they're going with that this time around, which I thought was interesting. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, or maybe I'm going too deep into it.
No, I think that's cool. I like that. Actually, I didn't know that. It does look. It's there's a lot of modernizations of classic costumes that are absolutely terrible, but I think this is an absolute perfect example of when it's done right. It is a callback to like the old comics, the '90s animated series, which is phenomenal, which we're getting more of.
Yes.
And yeah, I do hope it just goes. It really pushes it to limit. It takes the piss out of 20th Century Fox, out of Disney. Hope it takes piss out of Kevin Feige. And
I hope it takes the piss out of Sony.
Yes.
Deadpool has to mention Morbius, bro. He has to mention the fact that Spider-Man has yet to be in a Sony cinematic universe like Spider-Man movie.
In the final battle, or if there's every superhero movie has a final battle, it's a fucking trope of it, isn't it? As he's running into battle, he says, "It's Morbin time."
Bro, if Deadpool said it's Morbin time, the entire like people would go to watch the movie just for that scene.
Yeah,
they would. Like Deadpool. So from what I'm understanding, this is literally just Deadpool is aware that he is now in the MCU, so he grabs Logan from the Logan verse or the Bryan Singer verse, or what version of Hugh Jackman is.
He grabs a version.
Okay.
Like, what I'm thinking is maybe the Logan film. That's separate. Let's think of that as separate to the X-Men films. Oh, we're getting into the X-Men timeline drama here. That's a
So
lot.
Deadpool could make a joke out of that. Deadpool could make a
Yes, he
he
already
could
has, hasn't he?
he could literally be like, "Hey guys, opening segment. Hey guys, so they just signed a contract, and Kevin Feige put me in the MCU, so I'm here. But we haven't cast a Wolverine yet, and I'm also trying to do a Ryan Reynolds impersonation. Like, we haven't gotten a Wolverine yet, and there's a lot of Hugh Jackman, so I'm just going to find a random one with an actual
Yeah.
comic book accurate costume, and we're just going to come into the MCU." And then maybe they do like a incursion or whatever, like the Doctor Strange thing with all the Spider-Man. So then Deadpool's like, oh my god, it's like X-Men No Way Home or something like that. And like if they do this right, this movie could be freaking amazing. And then maybe the other X-Men of their universes are trying to take out Deadpool and Logan because it's a threat to their universes. And then they're like, Deadpool's like, Deadpool kills the bad Marvel universe or something like that, like kind of funny. And then I don't
Yeah.
know, like it could really work. But I think what I appreciate about the Fox Deadpool films is there is an element of seriousness. Like, yeah, Deadpool makes jokes. He was also stabbed in a burning building and he saw his friends die, and that affected him, that scarred him. So do you think, not to be that the person on Twitter who always hates on Marvel, but do you think the fact that Disney owns this property that will compromise Deadpool 3 in any way?
Uh, I have had worries of that. Um, but now I've seen the set photos, I'm a bit more okay with it. Um,
It
yeah,
will be rated R, right?
yes, I'm pretty sure. Yes,
Okay.
I'll double check that. So again, we do our fact checks here.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's rated R
yeah,
because
so
Ryan
it says
Reynolds.
the script was written with R rating in mind. So yeah,
Okay,
yes,
so I really hope it's not a soft rated R where it's technically rated R because they had two F words in it or something. Like I really hope they, you know what I mean? Like I really hope
yeah.
they go above and beyond with it. Does this movie need a plot? Does this movie need
Um,
a plot? I don't
it
think it
doesn't
does.
need a. It does needs it needs like something at the beginning, like a goal for the characters to achieve, and at the end, by the end of the film, that goal gets achieved. But doesn't really matter how they get there as long as it's a fun ride, really.
Okay.
It can
So
afford to be that type of film. Like Deadpool's the only character that you can get away with doing that with because his one of his powers is he's aware he's in a comic book, or in this case, he's aware he's in a comic book movie, so he can get
mhm.
away with it.
so how funny would it be if Ryan Reynolds meets up with Tom Holland Spider-Man at some point and he goes like, "Oh, doesn't Twitter call you Iron Boy Jr. or something like that?" And like, like that would be like they have to make joke. They have to, be smart with it. Here's how I would do Deadpool 3. I would have Deadpool meet up with a Logan that he needs help. So like maybe the X-Men are after Deadpool because of incursions of the multiverse. So he goes to a Logan that's willing to help him. Thus Deadpool not kills the Fox X-Men universe, but Deadpool is surviving the Fox X-Men
Oh yeah,
universe.
yeah, okay.
You get what I'm saying? So he's still killing them, but he's not going out of his way to do it. It's like he's protecting himself. But I really hope they bring back the other characters too, like the kid that blows stuff up in Deadpool 2, the Zazie
Uh,
Beats'
fight
character,
and
Domino.
Fire Fist,
Yeah, Fire Fist,
Bronson
Domino.
Reed.
Yeah, literally, bro. Like I need but it have some of that continuity, and it would be
Hmm.
really cool. Like I know there was news of Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck reprising their roles from Daredevil as Daredevil and Elektra in Deadpool 3. So there's a lot that they can do. But I think the most important thing is I want to have a fun Deadpool experience with an idea of what the future will hold.
Mhm.
So the last question I'm going to ask you before we kind of wrap things up here, bro. What's the future for the MCU Wolverine?
I think it's I think it's got to be a recast. Um, So, yeah, I don't think this Wolverine, I think, is going to end up in the MCU because obviously Hugh Jackman wants to do something else. He spent 20 years of his life playing this character. He wants to do other things. And I think he's talks about how hard it was to get back in shape for this role. So it's got to be a recast. Um, maybe that happens in this movie. Maybe at the end, Wolverine dies and Deadpool's like, "Oh, okay, I'll go get another one," and then he goes grabs another one. That's a new actor, something like that.
Mm.
Maybe.
So like one had a serious death in Logan and one is humorous. Like we know Logan's died before, so we're not going to try to match it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. You've already had that powerful emotional goodbye, so this is just a fun little extra.
Or maybe they don't kill Wolverine, but like I don't know, he ends up like retiring on a beach or something, and he
Yeah,
actually this is the
like
Wolverine that
Steve
gets to have
Rogers
his happy.
in Endgame.
Yeah, like this is the Wolverine
Mm.
that gets to have his happy ending.
Yeah.
And it's something silly. Like he's like, you know, I own a zoo now. And he's like the nicest zookeeper ever or something like that. And Deadpool's like, oh, I wasn't surprised. Like, was it the claws? Like, I don't know. But I want them to give Wolverine a happy ending, but I want there to be some intense fights. And I would love, there's going to be a crazy, out there, but I would love to see Deadpool fight Sam Wilson's Captain America in this movie.
Oh, that would be so good because they're two
I
of the
want to see
best
that.
comedic actors like in comic book films. So
Hmm.
yes, I'd love that.
Would you recast? Last question. Would you recast
Oh,
Wolverine?
sorry, just touching on that, Deadpool has to make a joke about 8 Mile. He's like, "Isn't your name
Oh yeah,
Clarence?"
yeah, yeah. No, man, this movie really is going to be special. Um, would you recast Wolverine like James Howlett Wolverine, or would you bring in Laura from Logan? But like that actress
Oh,
is grown up now.
yes, I think that could be a way to do it. Just have her be the Wolverine, have them come through together, and then she becomes Wolverine. I'd love to see that. It's a way to, so we have, even though we haven't seen Wolverine in the MCU, we've had a heck of a lot of Logan, in films. Maybe that's a way to freshen it up, and because whoever comes into if you do recast Logan, whoever comes into that role has got huge shoes to fill. Besides Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Chris Evans is Captain America and Rob Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. They're like the other two where you literally can't imagine anyone else playing it.
Right.
So maybe that is a good way to do it because otherwise the pressure on that person who the new actor playing Logan would be like immense pressure.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Um,
you shouldn't try to match Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'd really like to see that. I would. And she is grown up now. How old is she
She's
actually?
got to be
Was
like 16 or 15. Like she's still a
Yeah,
kid, but
was
she's
she
like,
about
yeah.
was she like 10, 11 when Logan came out?
I
Or was it
thought she was
younger?
like 9. Yeah, I thought she was like
What
9.
was
Yeah.
it? What's her
She's
name
got
again?
there ain't no way she's like older than 17. Like she's still a kid.
18.
Okay, yeah, same thing. She's still a kid. But yeah, okay. Like
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, she could easily play an adult um
but see what
version.
I would really want Tom Holland to speak to her
Hmm.
before we have another young actor join the MCU, especially what he talked about Hollywood and how it's draining. That's my
Hmm.
only like I would really appreciate if like Tom Holland reached out if he knew and was like,
Yeah.
yo, before you join, understand like this is a machine, good stuff. Like, it's
That
a
Tom
lot of
Holland
interesting stuff.
interview was fascinating, by the way. Like, if you haven't watched this
Yeah,
Tom Holland interview with was it the Jay
Jay
Shetty
Shetty.
podcast? It's absolutely fascinating what he talks about. Like, his alcohol addiction, his problems with Hollywood. It's a must watch for any anyone really, but especially Marvel fans.
Yeah, he's a genuine human. He's a genuine
Mm.
human being. Tom
He's a
Holland,
good guy.
he's a really good guy. If he retires from Spider-Man, I while it would be like, dang, you're just getting started, really, I don't blame him, because with the amount of work that he's put in, he should have been farther in the Spider-Man character, and I sense that there may be some frustration.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm speculating, but yeah, man, this is do you want to say anything else before we sign off?
Support the unions.
Of course, that's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
not
Support
just
the unions.
actors. In the UK, we've got the railway unions. We've got, teachers unions. Just support them. If you know someone in your family who's part of a union, who fighting for something, who are striking, donate. Just support them.
Yeah. Don't be a conservative cuck. Don't be a dickhead. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not to be,
Don't be a Tory.
Don't be don't be a Republican. Like, I don't know. we might get people who, like, you might get people that hate us here for that. But listen, you can't be a fan of Superman or Captain America and then be Tory or Republican. That makes no sense.
And this is our podcast. We can say what we want. If they want to chat shit about shit like that, make your own fucking podcast.
Yeah, make your own podcast. Right. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, bro. Because we're the Invincibles and nothing lets us go down. But
yes,
that's another episode. Good stuff today. It's, I just want to say one thing, coming from my culture and my background too, this might be the ammo that some people in the older generation might use to say, hey, you shouldn't go into the arts because they're not paying their writers well. When the real conversation should be, if you're good enough to make a difference, you're going to get paid your worth. How we view the world changes the world. How we view the world changes the world, man. But this has been the Invincibles podcast. I'm Zan.
I'm Oli.
And see you guys next time.
See ya.